In this episode, I will address the different accents you may encounter when studying Spanish or speaking with native speakers. Every country has its own unique accent and colloquial expressions. I am from Guatemala, but living here in the States have given me an opportunity to meet people from many different countries. I have friends from Mexico, Colombia, Puerto Rico, Peru, España, Argentina, Venezuela, República Dominicana, Salvador, Nicaragua, Panama, Bolivia. Oh my goodness, many, many more. But the fact is that all these countries have their own beautiful accents. You might be wondering how I'm supposed to learn Spanish with all these different accents. I am not going to teach you every accent in this podcast, but I will address the mindset you need to have when learning Spanish and navigating accents. And also, I'm going to give you some practical tips to enhance your experience. Bienvenidos to the podcast for Bilingual Mindset. I am Karim Morato, your host and Spanish language coach. You are in the right place if you want company in your bilingual journey for your family or for yourself. Mi casa es tu casa. ¿Listos? 1, 2, 3. Aquí vamos. Before we start, I want to read a testimonial. I will be reading the testimonials that you leave in my podcast because they are like a shot of motivation for me to keep doing this. Here is what Johnny G say. Loving it. I am so excited about this podcast as I am embarking on a journey of raising my own bilingual children. Señora Morato is an excellent coach and teacher, and I'm looking forward to hearing all the future episodes. Gracias y felicidades. Thank you so much, Johnny G. This means a lot to me. So make sure that you leave your testimonial because I want to read them and I want to share them too. Now, let's go back to the episode. One reason I am discussing this topic is that I often get asked, what kind of Spanish do I teach in my program? And my answer is simple. We teach Spanish. So to illustrate my perspective, I will start with my own personal story, then discuss the importance of mindset, and then we're going to close with some practical tips. Now, let's start with my personal experience with accents. When I moved to the United States, I had a distinctive Guatemalan accent. Era pura chapina. I was a pure chapina. Chapina is a colloquial term we use to call someone from Guatemala. Chapín, Guatemalteco. Chapina, Guatemalteca. Chapinos. After several years of living in the United States and marrying a Bolivian person, my accent changed. I remember when my friends from Guatemala visited me and they hear me speaking Spanish and they laugh and they told me, you sound funny. But also, it reminded me how much I was missing using my special words that only Guatemalans use when they are speaking among each other. For instance, in Guatemala, instead of saying bonito, which is nice, we say chilero. Can you say it? Chilero. Just like amigos, which means friends, we also say cuates. Say it? Cuates. So my advice to you, instead of worrying about what kind of accent you need to learn, the priority should be on learning and practicing first. Exploring different accents will come later. Now, let's talk about the impact of accents. One of my favorite stories involves a young man who knocked on my door one day. I opened the door and he started speaking English to me. And he was trying to sell me something. And obviously I say to him, no, thank you. Now he noticed I had an accent when I say, no, thank you. And then he asked me, ¿hablas español? And I replied, sí. Then he surprised me by switching to Spanish with a perfect Mexican accent. And he said, órale. So, of course, I started interviewing him. I asked him, how did you learn Spanish? And he told me that he had failed Spanish in high school, not once, but twice. He also failed Spanish too. And the worst part of our conversation was when he told me that his Spanish teacher said, you are not made to learn Spanish. Give it up. But he found his passion for the language during a mission trip. He went to California and the community taught him Spanish, and the majority in the community were from Mexico. So despite his initial struggles, he embraced the opportunity to learn Spanish at his own pace and also, I believe, at his own terms. So I suggested to him, after talking to him in Spanish for like maybe 15 to 20 minutes, I say, you need to go back, find the teacher, and you need to speak Spanish to her. So as you can see, mindset matters. You will encounter various accents while learning Spanish and practicing Spanish, so it is crucial to focus first on learning vocabulary, speaking complete phrases, and listening first. Listening is very important. I call this the input and output process. So don't let diversity of accents create obstacles. If you tell yourself that Spanish is too diverse to learn, you might quit. Accents should not be a barrier to speaking. I want to encourage you to adopt the right mindset. Remember, language learning is a lifelong journey, similar to how wine or cheese improves with time. Focus on preparing yourself for real-life interactions, just like the young man who persevered despite of early setbacks. Now, let's talk about the practical tips for learning Spanish. For effective learning, I want to encourage you to expose yourself to different accents. Start by choosing a curriculum or methodology that suits you or your family if you're learning as a family. Spanish is Spanish. If you visit a Hispanic country and say, hola amigos, they will understand you. Everybody will understand what hola amigos is. Now, if you go to Puerto Rico and you say, hola cuates, they may not understand you because only Guatemala will understand what cuates means. Another tip that I want to give you is to consider what is the Spanish accent that is most accessible for you. For example, if you have friends from Mexico or Colombia, lean into those accents. One of my guests, Samantha, told me that she avoided accents from Spain and Argentina when she was a beginner learner because she found them challenging. So she did tutoring with tutors from Colombia. Another tip is when consuming media, choose movies or shows with the accents you want to practice, whether from Spain or Latin America. I love how some providers now let you choose what kind of accents you want to hear in the movie or the show that you're watching. But nothing replaces the human experience. So again, seek out those friends, those tutors from specific countries that you want to learn from. Listen to music, watch YouTube videos in Spanish from those specific countries that you want to get better and understanding the accent. You know, some friends have even learned Spanish by watching telenovelas. Now, warning, I am not endorsing the telenovelas, but I have to say that I was really impressed by how some of them were understanding different accents by just watching TV series. Another tip is to focus on learning and practicing pronunciation. One mother using my elementary program mentioned to me how helpful was for her children to hear me and watch me pronounce the words and the phrases because it allows the children to model and repeat after me. I have 2 more tips to give you. Stay consistent. Consistency will help you overcome any challenges presented by accents. And my last tip is, we want our children, or if you are a teenager, I want you to be prepared for real life situations and interactions. So when you can speak Spanish, you do it with confidence. Accent do not matter if you never develop the courage to speak to someone. So a reminder is that for you parents and students, do not stop learning Spanish. Make it part of your lifestyle, your journey. Short, consistent practices are better than sporadic, long sessions. I also want to say something, and this is very important. Embrace your own accent. Remember that young man that came to my door and said, "Órale," and he spoke Spanish to me? You know, he had a Mexican accent, but also he had his unique accent. He was not a native speaker, but he had confidence, and he was so proud to speak a second language. You know, when I think about my students taking my Spanish courses, I am so proud of them because they have an accent when they speak Spanish, but they are moving forward. The accent is not an obstacle, but it is a sign that they are becoming bilingual. I like what John Maxwell say about personal growth. He say, sometimes we focus on the how long. We ask how long something is going to take to do. How long is going to take me to learn Spanish? He say, change the question and instead ask how long I am willing to commit to do it. I believe in you. You can do it. I wish I could hear your beautiful accents. Thank you so much for listening, and I am so proud of you. Hasta luego, mis amigos, cuates, panas, my friends. Hola, are you a parent looking for guidance on helping your elementary age children learn Spanish? Make sure to sign up for my free parent webinar, How to Give Your Elementary Age Children an Authentic Spanish Learning Experience at Home, even when you do not speak the language. The link to register is on the show notes. Hasta luego. Hola, muchas gracias. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you found value and encouragement in this episode. It will mean the world to me to know how this podcast is impacting you. Por favor, please take a few minutes to let me know and leave a review. When you leave a 5-star review, it will help others discover the podcast. Do not forget to subscribe. See you soon. Hasta luego.